Ever since President William Ruto ascended to power, his government is full of drama and seekers. This is because William Ruto has got penchant of signing deals that are shrouded in opaqueness. There are several deals that we could talk about, but the latest is this decision to lease the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to the Adani Group of companies for 30 years. This deal has been opposed by experts because, obviously, from the way experts argue, it is not going to benefit Kenya. And they say that it touches and dilutes our sovereignty as a country. Now, today, the courts granted the Law Society of Kenya and Kenya National Human Rights Commission the right to appeal for judicial orders. That means that the court will look into the operation, how the legislators, the executive, and the judicial arm of the government dealt through this deal, whether it followed the right channel. And after the ruling that almost grounded for a few days the takeover of the plan, the Kenya Aviation Workers Union organized for a strike. It was a kind of a go-slow, and it was to start by midnight yesterday. And one person who was caught in the ensuing melee is Larry Madowo, and I think he was heading to work. I think he was flying to Britain or something, and he was not left out. As usual, he took that moment because once a journalist, always a journalist, and he really exposed this deal to the international community. This is how things went.
So airlines are rushing to get the flights to leave JKIA before midnight, because at midnight everything shuts down. The staff say they want a total shutdown, and that means even flights cannot land and take off because members of the Kenya Aviation Workers Union includes air traffic controllers. Just every single aspect of the airport run by Kenya Airports Authority staff will not go on as they oppose the plan to transfer the operation of the airport to the Indian firm known as Adani.
The queue to get inside JKIA Terminal 1A begins all the way here and then meanders around and then all this way. This is probably several hundred people. Mad. That's insane. Hey, how are you? Okay, let me get to the back. Kuna line tofauti ya Sky Priority? Sir? Hey. This is insane. This is mad. We? Naomba kupita tafadhali. Ati? Fiti sana. Okay. Fiti sana. That's mad. This is insane. Sir? Hi.
I was about to ask, I've not seen a video of you about this here today. Sorry, Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa. Sure, let's do it. Hi.
My mom, my auntie.
Oh, cool.
Larry Madowo was
You're welcome.
lucky to get his flight, but they were delayed for about 20 to 30 minutes.
Sorry?
And there was a lot of mayhem.
Hata mimi
And,
naenda kwa nyuma ya line.
and there was a lot of
Yo,
mayhem
this
and
is
confusion
insane.
at the JKIA. Our airport is not new to all this kind of drama. There was a time that it was leaking, and see, the Kenya Aviation workers went on strike. This strike was organized by the Kenya Aviation Workers Union. Now, when you follow very closely what is happening between the deal between Kenya and Adani, you will realize that those who are complaining have got something that should be looked at. One, they argue that it sells our sovereignty to to external forces. You know, ever since William Ruto took over office, it is like we are a slave. And I remember I did a video where Jimmy Wanjigi was saying that William Ruto is a slave to the mess that he created while he was in government as a deputy president, and is also a slave to the people he's begging to lend him money. And Jimmy Wanjigi was saying that William Ruto has exhausted all the avenues and therefore is now coming back to our assets. That is why you hear things about KCC, our seed corporation, and all that. We are basically becoming a slave to others. So we are selling our sovereignty. They are also arguing that this deal was rushed. There was lack of public participation. You know, Kenya does not belong to the president alone. We are equal shareholders. He's just been given some privileges in our constitution because the power belongs to us. So we donate him powers. But he's handling Kenyans as if he's the only Kenyan. He wants to do things unilaterally. And he says that he is ready to take hard decisions. They're saying that this deal, because Adani group of companies will be managing the JKIA for 30 years, and then after 30 years they will still be withholding about 18% of shares of something. A child who's born today will be growing up to the time is 30 years when the JKIA is not in our hands. And as this is happening, the experts fear that this deal will expose our workers to job losses because Adani might come and it's not obvious that he's going to retain our workers. Is basically because we are leasing this to him, he will decide on what to do. And that is why, in a country where unemployment rate is rising, this deal is not viable for us. It's also argued that it is going to expose Kenyans and taxpayers to fiscal risks. And the Law Society of Kenya and Kenya National of Human Rights is saying that it gives no value to taxpayers. When you are selling a profitable parastatal like JKIA, they say that it goes against the spirit and letter of the Constitution. And I think this is chapter 47. And they're saying that the chapter says that it goes against the principles of good governance, accountability, transparency, and prudent use of taxpayers' money. It is irresponsible and it is irrational. So these are the grounds that they are laying down, and they're saying that this should be looked at. My main problem about this deal is that we have seen deals that William Ruto wanted to go through. And once they landed in the High Court will always, grant temporary reprieve to Kenyans. But then once it goes to the Court of Appeal or it gets to the Supreme Court, William Ruto always has his way. We could talk of the deal on the GMO when the Association of Peasant Farmers and the Law Society of Kenya went to the courts, High Court. We were taken in cycles, but finally, the courts later granted Ruto his wishes that we can consume GMO. When we talk about the appointment of the chief administrative secretaries, the CAS, the High Court halted, but William Ruto maneuvered his way, and this thing went back to Parliament. He has his way. When you look at the case about the policemen that were taken to Haiti, the courts halted this, but William Ruto later had his way. So it is either they will win it at the higher courts, or William Ruto will disobey the orders. You could talk about the Finance Bill 2023. It went to the high courts that halted it. then to the Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court granted Ruto his wishes. Though there is nothing, even the LGBTQ thing went to the Supreme Court and it was said that this group has got the right of association. So William Ruto will definitely have his way, and people fear that even though at the initial stages the courts, the High Court has halted this deal pending a hearing, we will see William Ruto getting his way because he has had his way in almost everything. People try to associate his winning to his friendship with the Madam Martha Koome that started when they halted the BBI all the way to the ruling, the presidential ruling. They also think that William Ruto has always intimidated and warned the courts, and that's why they fear. So we wait and see what is going to happen. But if this deal goes through, I can assure you that we are in for financial problems. And after Adani, I know we are headed to the Kenya pipeline. We are headed to KPLC. Then it will be our ports. It will be KCC, and all these are going to be leased. And I understand that if there is an organization that is not making any profit, we can always look at PPP, the public-private partnership. But we should look for a company that has got clean hands. When you read something about Adani groups, there have been a lot of complaints about Adani, including India, where Adani himself is coming from. We should look for a company that is impeccable, not companies that have got a lot of corruption cases. It will definitely be said that they have cut deals and William Ruto is getting his cut. The other day, when there was a G2G oil deal, there was a dossier that was later released that government officials had to cut some deals and they had their fair share of this corrupt deal. So people always look at this with a lot of suspicion because it is something that has happened before. Obviously, Larry Madowo exposed William Ruto at the international level. It is good that they also see what we are doing in Kenya because people have always complained to them that you gave us a president that somehow does not think about us. Now, it is good that they know what is happening because they are part and parcel of the problem and not the solution.